So one of the more challenging pieces of maintaining applications that use an SQL database is the fact that your queries are only ever going to get more complex as the application grows. It never gets simpler, so you start having to copy and paste the same complex join into multiple places, and good luck if you have multiple microservices that access the same database. Duplicated queries are a breeding ground for bugs, especially if you're duplicating the setup inconsistently. The good news is that SQL databases have given us a better option, which is to use views. Combined with materialized views for performance critical scenarios, you can massively simplify your queries, which will keep your business logic consistent and your code base cleaner. In this video, we'll discuss why duplicate queries lead to bugs, how database views solve the problem, and then how to integrate them with your frameworks like Laravel. And then we'll also talk about materialized views in order to improve your performance if you have access to those. Hello, developers, and welcome to the PHP Architect channel. I'm your host, Scott Keck-Warren, and if this is your first time viewing us, please make sure you subscribe so you can get our latest videos when they're published. So let me start out by showing you why duplicate queries are bug-prone. For a project that I'm working on, we're creating an internal leaderboard based on how much experience someone has earned within a set period. To generate the leaderboard data, we're using something like what's on the screen right now in a raw SQL situation. We're just doing that for our video so that it's easier to see how this adapts as we move forward. Months later, a teammate needs the same data for a leaderboard for teams instead of globally, so they just kind of copy the query and make their changes, but unfortunately they make a small mistake. Did you spot it? They accidentally remove the users.allow login equals true conditional from the query, which is going to cause different data to be displayed in both places. This is a sneaky bug that can easily slip past code reviews and cause real discrepancies, although a minor one. So at a very basic level, database views are basically a saved query that acts like a virtual table. You define the view once, and then you can select from it just like any other table. Here's an example of how we can create a view that solves our duplication problem. And now within our code base, we can have those repositories pull from the same view, but then only filter out which data that they want. So now if you need to add logic that shows zeros for users who haven't done anything in the last week, you can update the view definition once, and every piece of code that uses it just automatically gets updated. It's one source of truth with minimal duplication. We'll have more about database views after this word from our partners.
Building PHP applications is your passion. Managing cloud infrastructure shouldn't be your headache. Displace is your partner in cloud infrastructure orchestration, giving solo developers and small teams the tools and automation to deploy enterprise-grade Kubernetes clusters without enterprise-grade complexity or cost. Their CLI tool streamlines everything from local development to fully managed cloud deployments on AWS, Azure, GCP, and more. Skip the steep learning curve of Docker, Kubernetes, and Terraform. Let our automation free you to focus on your core business without losing control over your infrastructure. Get started at Displace.tech and discover how the right tools can eliminate the need for a full DevOps team.
Now, if you're using modern development practices, you should absolutely be versioning your database changes using some sort of a tool. Your views are no exception to this because they change over time and are dependent upon the underlying database structure. To version control your views, create them in the migrations. The key is using raw SQL if, like Laravel Schema Builder, your solution doesn't have native view support. Now, a common gotcha with this is that your migration order is really important. Your view migration must be run after the migrations that create the underlying tables. Generally, this isn't an issue with migration management tools, but you might run into errors if you're altering or removing columns that the views use without verifying that the views still function. For example, we can remove a column that a view uses, and we might not notice it until we try to use that view. Now, a small downside to regular views is that you're executing the underlying query every time you select from the view. For complex queries with expensive joins or aggregations, this can be really slow. Materialized views solve this by storing the query results physically on a disk, which can massively improve the performance of them. The code on the screen is an example of how to create a materialized view in PostgreSQL. Now, the slight trade-off is that materialized views can become stale, and you'll need to manually refresh them using some sort of a schedule. I can honestly say that they're totally worth it for views that you're querying repeatedly and are slow. The downside is that your users might be expecting the data to be real-time, and material views will get in the way of that. Now, annoyingly, some database management systems like MySQL and MariaDB don't support materialized views natively. You can achieve similar results with a regular table and creating a cron job and rebuild the table. As a brief recap, we should be using database views to eliminate query duplication and maintain one source of truth. Version control your views using migrations with raw SQL statements. Use Materialized view when possible for expensive queries that don't need real-time data. You can simulate Materialized views in MySQL using a cache table with scheduled refreshing procedures. Always consider staleness when using Materialized views and communicate data freshness to your users. I hope you enjoyed this dive into database views to help you write cleaner, more maintainable code. Do you want to see more videos like this? Let me know what database or PHP topics are going to give you trouble right now. You can comment below or message me on any of the social media platforms listed below in the description. This is Scott Kickwarren for the PHP Architect channel, signing off and reminding you to keep watching, keep coding, and keep reading.